Yeah, my name is Toby, as he said, and I'm 28 years old. I haven't been here before, so when I came I actually thought I'm giving this talk in German. Now I realized most of the people speak English and not everybody speaks German, so I try my best. It's 2 years ago when I started my trip. I was dreaming about doing a big trip all around Africa since I was a small boy, and finally I decided let's make this dream come true. Yeah, within the next hour I will show you about 250 pictures, and we want to travel about 50,000 kilometers. If you want to do a trip like that, first thing you need is of course a bike. Here you see Honda Transalp. It comes with a 50 horsepower engine and some other stuff, and altogether, yeah, you have a quite a good bike. I attached some aluminium cases to the side of the bike and a strong aluminium protection for the engine. I had GPS system, but everything else was basically original. To be able to take photos while I was riding, I attached a camera to my helmet. Yeah, it's just a usual camera and nothing special or expensive. Over the internet I got in contact with some other guys who wanted to do the same trip, and we decided let's do it together. But as you see on this photo, these guys also carry like a coffee machine and all other stuff which I didn't take. So
why are their heads covered?
Because they don't want to be
identified.
Yeah, identified in the internet and all that. So I painted it. Yeah. We split up quite early, but you will see later. When we started in Germany, the weather wasn't as pleasant as now. It was actually quite cold. But when we reached Greece, it started to become a little bit better. But in Syria, we had a lot of rain and snow again. So we were quite happy when we were allowed to camp inside local companies. For example, these people, they produce wooden boxes, and they allowed us to pitch up our tent inside of their building. When we finally reached Jordan, the weather became a little bit warmer, and we were amazed that you can really like swim without moving in the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is surrounded with sharp salt crystals, so you have to be very careful if you go into the lake, or into the sea. The local people here were very friendly. I was amazed. We're not able to talk, of course, but anyway, they invited me into their house and offered me a cup of tea and showed me to their neighbors, invited me to other people, showed me around. By this time my travel mates already showed they were not really interested in locals. They pitched up their tent and were reading some magazines or something. When we finally reached Egypt, the world changed again. We were always surrounded with people, and wherever we went, children were following us and were running beside us and wanted to see us. And were very interested in our bikes. My travel mate just had a puncture, and yeah, we were the big attraction of Egypt at this time. But also the problem was the police kept following us, so there was it was hard for us to do wild camping. Wherever we wanted to stop, they tried to chase us away and told us, it's too dangerous, go away, go on. The reason was, just a week before we came to Cairo, there was a car bomb blown off, and a lot of people got killed, and so they didn't want tourists near that place. But we didn't stop being tourists, and of course we visited the pyramids and other places and enjoyed ourselves. Also, the food was never a problem. Here you can see these little falafel places. Yeah, wherever people are there you can get food as well, so it was never a problem. Even the hygienic standard wasn't the same as in Germany. But therefore the people were more friendly. You can also buy boiled eggs at the marketplace or get fresh vegetables and fruits, yeah, nearly everywhere.
Hey, cucumbers.
even sorry.
Got cucumbers in it.
Yeah. Even water was provided along the road on some places in these big bottles, and they have got holes underneath, so the water drips out and climbs up the wall, and then it cools down the whole thing. So even in the hot climate, you can get cool drinking water, but you never know where it comes from. Sometimes they just pump it out of the Nile. So we used floor tablets to be safe. Yeah, when we wanted to enter Sudan, it was a big bureaucratic thing again. We had to get rid of our Arabic number plates. We had to go to the police and get them sign us that we didn't make an accident, and we had to go get ferry tickets for us and for our bikes. So it was quite a hassle, and it took us nearly 2 days to get all these documents done before we could actually enter the ferry. Our vehicles had to go on a special ferry. Yeah, we couldn't bribe someone to get them on our ship. It wasn't allowed, and maybe that's the reason why, because there is just no space on the other ferry. People are everywhere, and I was very happy that I found a little place in the shade underneath one of these lifeboats. During the day it was really, really hot, and at night it got freezing cold. You see, in the morning I was covered in everything I could get. Yeah, it's actually not allowed to sleep here because on the other side it goes 6 meters deep, and then there's just water. So you have to be very careful while you sleep. After we waited 18 hours in Sudan, finally our vehicles arrived, and the captain of the second ship parked very bad, so he wanted to earn extra money, because this way you never get the cars down. There's a meter gap here and another 2 meters here. I don't know how they got them down, but we had to pay for other people to help us carrying down the bikes. Yeah, that was Sudan, and we also had to pay someone to do our Arabic registration at the police station, and customs, and our passport stamped, I don't know, at least 5 times, so it was quite a hassle, but finally we managed. Sudan was very, very hot, and petrol was much cheaper than drinking water. Yeah, drinking water was something very special, petrol not, and it was also the end of the tarmac road. And because one of my travel mates somehow expected to be able to ride all the way through Africa on tarmac, he turned around when he saw, well, it's just deep, deep sand, and he just wasn't used to do off-road riding.
Beautifully done.
So from now on we were traveling together. It took us about 3 days to reach the tarmac road to Khartoum.
This was the guy who turned around?
No, that was the guy who kept on.
No, no, the one in the video.
Yeah, the one who just crashed on the video, he turned around. Yeah.
That was actually the turn.
No, he went all the way with the ferry, and then with the ferry back. So he paid all the visa and entrance. And
Oh my god.
They were Germans?
yeah, they were Germans as well. And we haven't met before. First time we met was in Austria. We planned traveling together and stuff on the internet using email and all that, but we've never met personally. And yeah, we realized we have different interests. So I think they just wanted to go through, and I wanted sometimes also to just stay on places and take photos and really experience Africa. And so later on I split with him as well, but we come to that.
There you go.
I was quite happy when we finally reached the 200 kilometers straight road to Khartoum, because
Did you send him a postcard? So this is how it is after 200 meters.
Yeah, it is actually, yeah, it's amazing. And I was quite happy about this because my steering bearing broke in the desert, so it was very hard to steer, so go straight wasn't a problem. And in Khartoum I had to take everything apart, and I decided, because that's how it looked like, to take off the top one and put the top one to the bottom and just get a usual bearing for the top. So that worked, and we finally found someone who was able to sell us one of these bearings. But when I took some photos while he took off the broken parts, the weggeflext, a policeman grabbed my camera and wanted my passport and took me to the police station. I was arrested because taking photographs in Sudan wasn't allowed. So yeah, it took me at least 12 hours to get out of this. So early in the morning I started to search for a new bearing, and when I finally left the police station it was late at night. But first, of course, they wanted to keep my camera and they wanted money and they wanted all sorts of things, but finally we agreed on I delete my photos and I get my camera back and goodbye. I was lucky that I just had made a backup the other day, so I still had some photos of Sudan, and of course I kept on taking, but more careful.
I think she saw you.
Yeah. When we finally reached Ethiopia, the world totally changed again. People were running and laughing towards us, and they always tried to sell us some bananas and already put them inside our mouth. couldn't say no. It was amazing, and people were laughing, and in Sudan they wasn't laughing. So it was nice to be in Ethiopia, but we were never alone. And people had warned us in advance to not to eat the Ethiopian food, rather to take tin food from Sudan, because their traditional pancake should be very bad and you can't eat them. But I really like that thing. It's made out of sour teig and it comes with a little bit of meat, and you pour out the meat and you roll the thing together and you eat it. It was delicious. And you could also get fresh fruits everywhere, so it wasn't a problem to be in Ethiopia. You even could get fresh water on some pump stations, and you could even find a bottle store. And of course, wherever we stopped, we were surrounded with hundreds of children. We also were lucky to see these monkeys. Usually you have to go into one of these national parks to see them, but these national parks are not allowed for bikers to go in. And if you have to take an armed guide on the back of your bike, and if you have tons of luggage already, it's not what you want, another 80 kilos on the back. Yeah, Ethiopia is also quite interesting if you love to see like weapons and all tanks. They are standing around everywhere. But wherever you stop, as I said, you're not alone. We just wanted to have a coffee here, and 1 minute later there are, I don't know, 10 people surrounding us, and after 2 minutes there are 20, and after 5 minutes I can hardly find my travel mate. Same with here. I just wanted to take a photo of this house, and it takes 5 seconds, and all the family wants to be on the photo as well. And they're so friendly, and they invite you to come in and have some fruit and some what they call coffee or something. It's always very friendly. And if there are no people, then there are a lot of animals on the road. So you have to be very careful. They have nice mountains and very nice curving road. Careful with the camera. Yeah, but there are people and animals everywhere. We also saw our first wild zebra there, and these big marabou birds. It was amazing. Finally we went on and reached Kenya. To enter Kenya wasn't a problem at all. We got our visa at the border for 50 US or 50 euro. You could choose what you wanted. But the 250 kilometers there wasn't any tarmac. So this was quite a hard trip again, but we managed. You only have to be very careful if you travel too slow, because these public transport trucks, they come with full speed and they don't stop. So you have to jump, get out of the way, because they just go on. In the bottom of the truck there are a lot of animals on the way to the market, and on top the people, they sit and sing, but they don't hold on. And I guess if this truck would stop, they will all fall down. So that's why this thing doesn't stop. We were also warned that this trip is very dangerous. A lot of people have been kidnapped, or not kidnapped, but robbed by local people. So we tried not to stop. And when we stopped to take photos of these ladies, we realized why. They were very unfriendly, and when we gave them money they wanted more and started to put their hands in our pockets, and yeah, they wasn't very friendly, so we were happy when we finally just hit the accelerator and went on. My travel mate went too fast and broke his frame in this area, so I took another few kilos from him, and yeah, when we crossed the equator, and finally in JJ's Jungle Junction, I think a lot of people know, in Nairobi, we found someone who was able to do aluminium welding. My exhaust pipe also needed some welding, but that was usual steel and you could get this done everywhere. On another nice little off-road path which we decided to take, I wanted to do some stops to visit these little villages and take photos, but my travel mate decided to go on. He didn't want to stop, and we agreed on a GPS position to meet in the evening. So I was happy about this, because then I had the whole day to take photos, and it was amazing to see how these people live. It's all together with nature. It's 100% no plastic. If the house is broken down, it will disappear and there's no waste. When I finally reached the GPS position where we agreed on, it was like a film, like opening one of these magazines where you can book very expensive trips. It's palms, white sand and the ocean. It was lovely. And of course there were also a lot of vehicles from other people who were traveling the East Coast. So after we had quite a hard off-road part the days before, I decided to stay at least a week and talk with those people and enjoy the nice fish which the locals sell in the morning. And yeah, my travel mate wasn't happy about this decision. He wanted to go on the next morning, so we split and he took the next plane back home. At this camping place there were not only these very nice people, but also some monkeys, and later on I found out they were able to open the zipper of my tent to steal my banana. Very clever. Yeah, and I got in contact with a lot of people who had their vehicles there, but I found out these people haven't been in contact with each other. So I had the idea of organizing a big campfire, organizing some wood, and ask the fishermen to sell us a big tuna fish for, I don't know, €2 or something, and invite all of them, and we had a big barbecue fire and met all together one evening. It was really nice. And there I also met this family. They were traveling together with 3 children with a normal Iveco truck. And in the morning they made something like school for the children, and in the afternoon they had some holiday. And this family was on the way to find a new home. They have sold their house in Switzerland and were just on the way, and they said when they find a place where they wanted to stay, they will stay, and otherwise they keep on going. I got the last email from India. Yeah, this was our big barbecue. It was a nice evening, and it was really interesting to hear all these stories from the other people. But finally my visa of course expired and I had to go. And to enter Tanzania wasn't a problem as well. I got the visa at the border again, and I knew Tanzania from other trips before, so I also already knew some nice places where I could spend a couple of days and have Easter holidays. Yeah, just I needed some holidays from my holidays. And then later on the way to Malawi, I crossed the Mikumi National Park. It's one of the only national parks which you are allowed to cross with a motorbike. And yeah, already if you enter in the morning you see wild monkeys sitting on the road, and then I decided just to take a road off the main road into the park, which is not really legal, but I pretended not to know. And after a few meters I had my first elephant coming towards me. It was really nice experience. I switched off the engine and wasn't sure, was I more afraid of him or he more of me, and I was ready to like turn around and go, but he just came towards me and then he disappeared into the bushes. But it was an amazing experience. Yeah, I spent a wonderful day inside of this park, But when I finally came back to the main road, this guy pointed his gun to me and wanted $100 US. And when I lied to him I didn't have, he went down to 50, and then I realized, well, if he's not able to shoot me and to get the bike and everything I have, then he won't shoot me with $50 and not for 20, and I didn't give him anything, and finally he disappeared. To enter Malawi wasn't a problem again, so I can't understand why my travel mate has left me. It wasn't a problem really. Malawi is one of the nicest countries I know so far. I've been to Malawi 3 times already, and it's just wonderful. One of these big fresh water lakes, one of the biggest in the world, and you feel sometimes like you are on the ocean, because on the other side of the lake you can only hardly see Mozambique. So it's huge. And I always invited myself at local villages, local fishermen villages. I asked the oldest guy whether I'm allowed to pitch my tent beside his little house, and they always said yes, come in, and they invited me, and then I could see how in the morning the whole village helped to get out one of these boats. They are built out of a big tree. They take out the wood, and then in the night they go to catch fish, and then they put them into the sun so to dry them, and then they can keep them for a while. Here you can see a man wearing one of these blue clothes. The president of Malawi gave away a lot of them, so everybody was wearing them because he wanted to stay president. There was something, I don't know what's it called, but it's called a Wahl in German. And on the photo you can see Mr. President, but there he looks very young. And when I saw him alive a few days later, it turned out like quite an old guy. Who is coming? It's leaving. Yeah, and here a little view into the local kitchen. We have our Ceran glass cooking stations, and they have a little bit of wood. But they're happy, and I think it's the main thing. They're happy, and probably we can learn something from them. We don't have to change their life. They have something like culture. They all work together, and they sing and they cook, and it was really nice to experience this. In Germany everybody is unhappy, but these people, they were really happy. Yeah, and I really love this Malawi lake, and I also spent a few days at camping places. Some places in Malawi are quite touristic by now, and they do have camping places and supermarkets and stuff, so you can also do really comfortable holidays there. This is one of the houses I want to earn one day. It's just lovely to be just in front of this lake. On one of the camping places I met another family from Germany who were traveling with 3 children, and I met Petra. Petra did a social project for an Austrian company, and when I met her she was traveling around Malawi to see a little bit of the country she'd been working in for a couple of months. The father of the German family, of course, showed me where they came from. They have been traveling the west coast, and I heard so many sad, or not sad, but dangerous stories about the west coast that I would have never dreamed about doing it myself one day. But still, it was very interesting, and of course wherever you meet other tourists you pull out your map and you sit down and you talk where you come from, and you put little notice things into your map. So here the road is very good, and here's very bad, and there's a nice camping place or whatever. And I gave them all the information I had about where I came from, because they wanted to travel up the east coast later on. Yeah, because Malawi is quite touristic by now, they come to the idea that it's better to, instead of begging to people, rather produce something and sell it. And here you can see that's a toilet roll holder. You can pull out toilet paper out of there. We need that here. You can't get it here.
Back of your car.
They also sell these little wooden cars, and usually they sell the normal Land Cruiser or whatever, Defender, Land Rover Defender. But here the family gave a photo of their car to him, and ask him to rebuild their car. And you can see, he managed quite well. It's all made by hand, but even the jerry cans are copied perfectly. So it's amazing, and it costs like, I don't know, 5 or 10 bucks. So,
But they gave him a little more for that.
hopefully, yeah. Petra so far was traveling with public transport. These buses in Germany are usually allowed for 9 people, and here they are 21. And a lot of time they end up like this, or even like this. So we decided rather to travel together for a while, and yeah, I decided to take her along. And because you need a helm in Malawi and I didn't have a spare one. Yeah, it's a usual salad bowl you can get everywhere. And we crossed a lot of roadblocks with that and no problem. Police always wanted money because I don't have a number plate in front, but they never got some, and they never realized it's not a real helmet. Yeah, I visited the project she did. It was like a preschool, and we organized a painting day. So the locals were invited in building up a school. Otherwise they were thinking, hey, what are these white guys building up on our property? It was quite interesting to be there for a few days, and it was also nice to be on local markets. People were so friendly, and one day when I asked how much is one of these avocados, she told me, and I paid a few cents and took my avocado and wanted to go, and she said, no, stop, I bought the whole lot. Yeah, but finally also this visa expired and I had to go on. And I entered Mozambique because in trips before I already went through Botswana and Zambia. And in Mozambique it was nice as well. People were very interested in my bike and to see me, and they always called me Muzungu. That's also why on my website I call myself Muzungu, and on the program I'm written Tobias Muzungu. Yeah, wherever I am, Muzungu, 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 white man in Swahili. They always wanted to be on the photo and were laughing when you show them the little picture of them on the camera. And they invited me even into their house to eat together with the oldest man. We couldn't talk because my Swahili isn't as good, but it was still very interesting. We got sima, which is maize flour cooked without anything. And you eat it together with him out of a bowl. And of course, when they first invited me, I didn't know about anything and I was hungry, and so I eat this, and afterwards the bowl was empty. And then I realized, yeah, the women and the children who were waiting without talking at all, they were waiting for the stuff we left over. So by that I was very happy to have some biscuits and emergency stuff, so they didn't have to starve. You also have mangrove forests in Mozambique, and at a place like this I met a South African guy who was building up a lodge, and he asked me whether I can work or watch his workers for a couple of days while he wanted to go to South Africa to buy some stuff which he needed. And if you don't watch them, he was afraid that all his tools might just disappear. So it was quite interesting to work for a couple of days at the lodge in Mozambique. And to say thank you, he invited me to jet ski and motorbike riding, which was like a culture shock. It was amazing, like seeing these expensive cars again and all that. Yeah, finally I reached South Africa, and I went into the direction of Kruger Park, and there are a lot of villages which are surrounded with a fence, and inside you see wild animals, and you are allowed to enter without paying, and even with a motorbike, because there are no lions. So it was nice. And of course if you don't travel the main road, if you go little small paths, you can see a lot of other animals as well. They have big ostrich farms and yeah, wild pigs. It's nice. And then I reached the fence of Kruger Park and looked through and could see my first crocodiles. And when people realized, oh, there's a guy with a foreign number plate staying, and they stopped and, oh, where you come from and stuff, and I told them my story, and they invited me, yeah, come with us in our car for one day into the Kruger Park. We drop you later on at your bike. So I got the chance to go into the park, because with the bike, of course, I'm not allowed for the lions. It was a nice day. Of course, to be inside one of these parks, you see lots of animals. But the main thing was, it was so nice, always meeting nice people. Wherever you stop, they invite you, they're interested in your story, and they show you around. They're proud of their Boerewors or whatever they have. It's really nice. You really feel welcome. And of course, we were very lucky, because there were just a whole herd of elephants coming and taking a bath when we were standing there. Amazing. Finally, I went on and decided to go through Lesotho, up the Sani Pass, which is 2,800 meters high, gravel, and yeah, here you see a little bit of Lesotho. Lesotho is a small, very poor kingdom country inside of South Africa, and they hardly have any roads, at least not in this part where I went through. And yeah, why? You don't need roads, because that's their vehicle. So, but also here people are very friendly, and even they don't have proper stuff to wear, and it was really freezing cold, they invited me to stay and invited me for SEMA. And in situations like that, I always had some t-shirts or a torch or whatever what I could get in the last big city. I always carried stuff like that to give as a present, to say thank you, because people are not used to money. If you ask for money, for how much is it if I stay with you for a night or something, they want 100 US. But if you give them a t-shirt, they are much more happy. So I always had some t-shirts, torches from China shops, which you find everywhere. It's nice. They never go reach the big cities. 200 kilometers is just too far. When I reached Khayelitsha, a big slum near Cape Town, it was hard to see that people are not happy anymore. So in Lesotho, even they didn't have anything, people were still happy and had something like culture. But in Khayelitsha, it was a big crime scene, and people were like, didn't laugh at you, they were looking, hey, what's this rich guy coming from, maybe you can take something. I didn't feel very comfortable inside here. And yeah, but I still spent a couple of months in South Africa and organized to ship my bike back home, because actually I just planned on doing the trip to South Africa, but not further on. I hear too many dangerous or difficult things about the West Coast. Yeah, while I organized my flight and stuff, I spent the time at a Camp Hill place where they care about handicapped and old people, and lots of Germans do a social year there. So it was nice. And finally they went on to travel a little around, and I went on back to Port Elizabeth, where I wanted to ship my bike from. And of course I didn't take the highway, but I decided to take the Baviaanskloof, which is a very nice 200 kilometers long off-road park. And while I was riding, it was actually the last day of my trip. I was happy, everything so far worked out very well, and I just went too fast and ended up like 20 meters deeper. Yeah, luckily I didn't hurt myself, but my bike was quite in a bad condition. I climbed up back to the road and took my tent and my sleeping bag to make something like a roadblock, and we're hoping that one day some other tourists come and give me a lift back to the last city. And I was lucky, because after 2 hours or something, some tourists came. They took me back to the last city where I spent the night. And it turned out the guy where I spent the night at his farm before, he was the brother of the local police guy, and they got 2 vehicles and 9 people and went all the way these 100 kilometers with a big rope to pull up my bike again, and then loaded it into the car. And that's how it looked like when the next morning I left the police station without headlight, without brakes, without anything. But no problem for the police. They just waved me goodbye, good luck. Because I had to yeah, and because I had to reach the ferry where I wanted to ship the bike. So I had to, didn't have time to repair. Then I took the plane back home to Germany and waited another few months for the arrival of my bike. I always got funny emails when I asked, where's my bike? First they said, it's, I don't know, the container was full, and then they said, it had been shipped, but because it was strapped on a wooden pallet, they didn't allow it into Europe. They sent it back home because to import wood, you need a certificate. So they had quite good excuses, but my bike never appeared. And later on, after my carnet expired, I got a customs claim for the import tax. So they wanted the import tax for my bike because so far it hasn't left the country. And then I got in contact, luckily, with people from Port Elizabeth, of course over Horizontal Unlimited, who went to this company to look whether my bike still exists or not. And after they took photos and said, it's still there, and we take it to our farm and it's safe, I took the next plane back to South Africa, and of course I brought a lot of stuff to repair the bike, and then decided to travel up the west coast. It took 2 or 3 days to get it in good condition again, and then I left South Africa. I was very happy because the South African customs didn't make me a lot of problems. They allowed me to leave the country with expired documents, and in Angola they didn't even realize that they have been expired. It was a nightmare first to get the visa for Angola. It took me more than 3 months and more than €160 just to get a 4 days transit visa for Angola, because they kept saying, tomorrow we send it, but they never did. Then I got a visa service doing it for me. They also didn't get it, and finally the South African customs said, we allowed you to leave, but now you have to leave. and so it was quite hard, but finally I managed, and I reached Angola and had to rush quite fast through Namibia therefore. But when I reached Angola, it was nice there. The local people were very friendly, and it was interesting. There were lots of tanks and stuff standing around again, so I could take a lot of photos. At these places it's not advised to do wild camping because they still do have lots of landmines everywhere. So I rather invited myself at local people's places again. And here you can see inside of the house. People are very complicated. When they're hungry or the donkey was in an accident, they just kill it, and you can buy grilled meat everywhere, so it wasn't a problem. It was actually a problem to get petrol. Angola is one of the richest countries in Africa, but they hardly have any petrol stations, and if they do have, they are dry, they run out of petrol. This is how the bridges look like, or sometimes like this, and it's quite scary to ride over them. It makes lots of noise. Sometimes if the road is too bad, there are little paths beside the road for which the local people use, but because they are usually on foot, they are so narrow, and if you go with big boxes and there's grass and bushes everywhere, I didn't see there was a tree trunk still, and it ripped off my box, but this guy managed to get it back on again. That was the other way around. Also here you could find really nice local marketplaces, get fresh food, and even fast food. Here you buy one of these eggs, and you buy a little bun, and the lady puts it into the grill, and you get like a egg hot dog. It's nice. And this is a petrol station, and usually if you don't come with the police, you have to wait like hours. But I was nearly run out of petrol, and I asked the police on one of these roadblocks whether he can show me a petrol station. And of course, when he came up with me, I could go directly in front. Yeah, it's hardly to reach, to find a place where you can reach the ocean, because people usually work inside and they are not interested in the ocean and in fishing and something. They do cut down all the trees they can get to make charcoal, and then they bring it to the market and sell it. It's actually quite a sad story. I entered Congo 3 days after my visa has expired, so I had to, instead of the date expiring 1st of October, I changed to put a 0 behind 10th of October, so they let me in. This was because, yeah, my Angola visa took too long. From Kinshasa I had to take the ferry to Brazzaville, and this was the hardest border so far. Because on those big cities, of course they have big marketplaces, and you are the only white person within, I don't know, at least 500,000 black people, and they all look towards you, and then you have to get a ferry ticket, you have to change money, you have to get the bike exported, yourself exported, and on the other side imported again. And then you have to be able to speak French, which I'm not. So it was quite scary, and luckily this guy was able to speak a little bit of English, and he helped me with all this stuff. He also allowed me to camp at his brother's place, so I could spend a week in Brazzaville to get the visa for Gabon and Cameroon, and I even tried Nigeria, but they refused. They told me I have to get it in Germany, as I'm German, and yeah, he was very unfriendly. And all this waiting for the visa always took, I don't know, 1 day per visa. So one time at the Cameroon embassy, I brought my passport and I paid and filled out all these documents, and then he said, yeah, come back the next day at 9 o'clock. And when I came, he said, yeah, wait. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I asked, yeah, where's my visa? And really got cross and started asking a lot of other people, like shouting inside the embassy, I need the passport and stuff. And then he just pulled it out of his drawer and gave it to me. First he tried, of course, to get money, but that's how it works. That was the highway inside Congo. On the map it looks like a big red line, so you can expect at least tarmac, but when you come, it's not even sand, it's this fech. There are big rocks hidden underneath, and it looks flat, and if you walk inside, it goes like water, but it's dry, but it can like flow. And if you go this road, there are always big rocks hitting your bike, and then it was really hot, and the air cool was going all the time, and I was really afraid of having a major problem, but luckily the bike worked and no problem. On this hardest part of the whole trip, I met a Spanish guy. He was just cycling through Africa. Actually, on the first trip I also met a lady who was crossing Africa with a tractor. Maximum speed 25 kilometers. It's cool, you meet lots of crazy people there. Yeah, that's the road in Angola, and after this road got worse and worse, local people advised me rather to go a few kilometers south and go on the train track, because that's what everybody does, and the national road isn't used anymore. And it was actually a good idea, but I don't know how you can do that with a car or something, because to go down there's at least a meter, so high distance. I don't know how you get a truck up there. They hardly have private cars. They do have public transport here as well, and they do have lots of these trucks cutting down the rainforest, and they also speed and don't stop, and a lot of times they end like this. So one of these tires just bursts, and then you can't control that thing again. Yeah, to cut down the rainforest in Congo is one of the things you can earn money with. It's quite sad actually. First thing you do, you spray petrol, then you burn down all the grass and stuff, and get the snakes away. And then you cut down the small wood, and later on you take down the big trees. Here you see one of the big trees, and on the photo you can see that's me. So they are really, really, really big, and it's really sad to cut down those trees. They do also have a lot of baobab trees, but they don't cut down them because usually they are rotten from the inside. Yeah, in Congo they sell everything they get from the rainforest, snakes and stuff you get beside the road. I don't know if you can eat them or not. Probably you can. But I was amazed to find a lot of freshwater pumps. And the most amazing thing was they are made in Germany by Preußer AG. So far I didn't find out how it came that there are a lot of German pumps there. Also in countries like Gabon and Cameroon later on, every 100 kilometers I could get fresh water pumped directly from 100 or 50 meters, and so I didn't have to use chlor tablets anymore. And also wherever I stopped, of course, people wanted to be on the photo and see themselves, and also wanted to take pictures themselves. It was a big hello. And it was amazing to see the youth. They are also wearing clothes like we do. They don't have running water, they don't have electricity, but they're as cool as we are. To enter Gabon wasn't a problem. Nobody realized my carnet was expired long ago. I did my insurance document was made by Photoshop, and on the back side, valid in was the list of Wikipedia, including all the countries of the world. No problem. Yeah, and on some places where people waved to me when I passed, I decided to stay quite a few days and to live a few days, yeah, inside one of these local villages. So I learned that was too fast. They do have manioc, they grow them, and if you cut it down, and yeah, that's what this lady does, and then you wrap it into palm leaves, and they have these big rice bags, and they take them apart to have the string, yeah, and then so nothing is wasted. They use it to wrap the palm leaves in, and then cook it or sell it beside the road. And it's really nice. You put sugar in and you can eat it. It's delicious. And they also fry them like French fries, or yeah. So it's not, at least I realize it's not true. People don't have anything to eat, or at least in these places it was delicious. It was very hard to say goodbye one day, and they were happy about a big torch and a lot of batteries. Because in the evening they were usually sitting at the fireplace, but one of them was able to read, and I think it's not good to read in the dark, so I gave him a torch. Yeah, Cameroon was easy to enter as well. I passed a lot of plantations with bananas. They already grow in plastic bags because they build a special gas, and if it doesn't disappear inside a plastic bag, they grow faster. But when I reached Cameroon, the rain season started, so a lot of people invited me into their house to pitch my tent inside of their room. It was really, really friendly. And I'm still in contact with this guy on Facebook. So they do have cell phones, and they use Facebook as well as we do. It's amazing. Yeah. Here I just wanted actually to fill up my water bottles on this reservoir, but when the school people saw there's a white guy, they just came all running, and the teacher had to stop the lessons. It was a big hello, and everybody wanted to touch my white skin, and then they were running around and laughing.
And one is bringing a chair for you.
Yeah.
I just nicked it. Yeah.
No, they do actually, they walk. If the school is finished, they do take their own chair back home. And only the wealthy children do have chairs. The other they sit on the floor. I saw that later. You see people walking around with their chair. Yeah. Yeah, and because of the rain season, that's how the main road looked like. So it was about 250 kilometers like that. It was like a nightmare. I was covered in mud and up to my knees, and then everything was full of mud, and it was quite hard here to get through. But there was no way around, so bit by bit, day by day, you go a little bit further.
Looks like Bolivia in rain time.
Yeah, and then finally I reached Nigeria. And in Cameroon, of course, I got the Nigeria visa at the embassy. It was a nightmare again, but visa things are always a nightmare, I think. But I was actually looking forward to Nigeria because I've heard they do have tarmac, and after doing the Cameroon mud roads, I was quite looking forward to tarmac again. But yeah, tarmac is not always tarmac. They have, I don't know, a few kilometers, and then suddenly there is a hole, a pothole. But what they call pothole is like you stop, you have 20 centimeters into the hole, you ride into the hole, you ride along, and then after, I don't know, 50, 100 meters, there's another thing, and then asphalt tarmac starts again. And on places like that, on one place I had to slow down, and then suddenly 5 guys jumped towards me and tried to pull me off the bike. And luckily they tried to pull from both sides, so and somehow managed to get away. But one was holding on the back, and my front went up, and the bottom really crashed on this gap where the tar started again. So I was really lucky. The whole thing like went, but finally I managed. And then on the horizon I saw a star, and I followed this star. Yeah, I was amazed as well. I didn't thought there's a Mercedes in Nigeria, but yeah, when I reached Mercedes, I stopped there at the gate and told I wanted to speak to the boss immediately. I'm an engineer from Germany and have to talk to them. I really made a lot of noise there because he wanted to just that I go on, that the guy who was watching the gate. But I wanted to spend the night at Mercedes because I was so afraid in Nigeria. And of course, when he realized, oh, there's a guy from Germany, he was amazed and invited me into his villa and into a hotel and allowed me to stay a couple of days, and we had a really nice time. And he also got my bike repaired, did an oil change, and welded my boxes. Yeah, it looks like Europe, but it's right in the middle of it. He got my boxes welded on some places and helped me a lot before I finally went on. And then in Nigeria I didn't stop in any towns anymore. I just did wild camping inside of places where I thought nobody will ever find me. Just followed one small path until it stopped and pulled out plants for about 2 times 2 meters, turned my bike around, put up my tent. That was okay like this. Yeah, Nigeria was also the country where people were driving like crazy. So, for example, either they, if there's one of these big potholes, the trucks just, without looking, try to go around, and a lot of times they just tip. And when they tip, the whole traffic, and they do have a lot of traffic because petrol is nearly for free in Nigeria, they go on the other lane, and they don't care if people are coming towards them. And in one situation I had a guy, a big black Jeep, one of these rich modern ones, coming towards me on my line, and I just gave him like a light flash to say, hey, please could you go back on your line? It was no problem for him, but he just didn't want. He gave me a flash back. I saved myself into the bushes and he crashed full speed with the car behind me. So probably all dead, I don't know, I just kept on going. So Nigeria wasn't very good. But when I reached Togo and Benin, the world turned to be more friendly again. It was like real Africa again. And people were selling these little, like, I don't know, it's, how did you call them?
That cook?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they sell them everywhere, and you put a little bit of sugar on it, it's nice. And they also did have a really nice beach where I could have a few days before I went on. Yeah, wild camping in Togo wasn't a problem, and in Burkina Faso as well. Burkina Faso turned out to be really like real Africa again. They didn't have any cars, they had these little nice round heads again, and that was the road. I really enjoyed it, and if you meet somebody you stop and ask where you're from and where you're going, and you just speak with your hands, because I don't speak French unfortunately. But then they invite you to come with us, and they give you some oranges. And amazing on this place was they didn't want any t-shirts when I left. I wanted to give them something to say thank you, because I spent quite a few days in this village, but they didn't want. They were very proud to show me the way they live, and yeah, it was amazing. It was also amazing that just on this place I met a couple from Italy. They were traveling with this truck, and of course whatever you do, you pull out your map, and they showed me they've been just coming through Mauritania directly into Mali and then to Burkina Faso. And I was just thinking about doing the same trip, because I hear too much bad things about Senegal and the police in Senegal. And somebody told me that the border between Senegal and Mauritania should be much worse than the border between Kinshasa and Brazzaville. And after having survived this border, I knew I can't do more. So I thought about doing this trip, but on the map it already showed a dotted line. And because I already knew how big red lines can look like, I was afraid the dotted line might be worse, but it wasn't. The people from Italy, they told me it's fine, it's tarmac, no problem, so this decision was made. And then I decided to stay another week at this local place. Actually, this guy invited me, and he wanted me to come into his village, but because my bike was too big, and these local villages are surrounded with a wall, he especially took down the wall to make a gap wide enough for my bike. Yeah, and then of course I had to take pictures from his wife making something to eat, and everybody wanted to be on the photo, and it was really nice to be guest of them again. So yeah, these are the traditional houses, and here they do put whatever, like wheat or peanuts or whatever. They can store it. You can lift up the roof and put it down again. That's what they use instead of cars. Very friendly little donkeys everywhere. Of course they sell these fat cooks again, and also make palm leaf baskets. Here she proudly presents a peanut plant. Here you see little peanuts, and with handwork she takes them all off and separates the oil, and finally makes oil, peanut oil to sell, and these little biscuits mixed with sugar. They're delicious. So it was nice to be in Burkina Faso, and to enter Mali wasn't a problem as well. You could pay the visa at the border, but had to go to the main city to get a real visa. First you only get a receipt, which took another few days, but it wasn't too bad. And yeah, this is another little village I spent 1 or 2 days in, and finally even the oldest guy of the village allowed me to take a photo of him, after he had seen that I took quite a few nice photos of his ladies, or the ladies from the village. It's amazing to see how nice clothes they can make, because they don't have electricity or something, but still they are so well dressed, so nice. In Mali there was a camping place, a European camping place, after a long time, where I could rest a few days and use the internet again. That was a big thing, to update my blog and all that. Until finally I reached Mauritania. In Mauritania they also looked at my papers very closely, but didn't realize they were all faked and expired. And then they let me in, and the world changed. There was no rainforest anymore, and it was just dry and sand and a lot of camels. And the road was very good if you compare what I had before. So in one place I because you never know how long the border crossing takes. So you just go into the country, and after
Smash your
50
bike.
kilometers you stop, and then you figure out how far is it to the next city. Are you going to do it in the day, or you rather stop before the big city, because you don't want to be in a big city at night. And when I stopped, I was lucky still having my helmet on, because the sun was so hot. You always have to wear long sleeve clothes to get sunburned so quick. I just found myself flying through the air and hitting the road with my helmet, and then realized there was a car just banged into me and ripped off my whole box. And out of this car there were like 7, 8 Arabic people jumping out, all shouting at me that I have destroyed their car. And yeah, they called the police, and of course what you do when you have an accident, you try to SMS your position back home. But in Mauritania my cell phone didn't work, so it wasn't all too good. Then the police came, took my insurance documents, and they, yeah, of course my passport as well, and ordered me to the police. That's my insurance document actually. And then, yeah, they asked the local teacher, the English teacher, to come to translate, which was actually quite nice. And yeah, he translated for me, and first the other guy turned out to be one of the ministers of Mauritania, and yeah, first he wanted me to pay for his damage, and then after a few cups of this very sweet tea, we agreed on I'm not paying for his damage, but he will organize someone who will repair my boxes. Yeah, that was good. And then he brought me to the local car shop where they got someone repairing my box, while the owner of the shop wanted that he is doing everything right. Yeah, it took the whole day, but in the evening finally my bike was repaired again. And because they didn't have aluminium or any steel bar to repair the holder for the boxes, I went around the village, and at a little place where they make clothes, I found this aluminium 1 meter piece, straight piece, where this guy usually cuts off his I don't know,
Fabric.
yeah.
The clothes.
And I bought this, or at least I said I want this. Doesn't matter what it costs. This this guy anyway is going to pay for that, but I need this, and it's still on it. It went through roadworthy. So good. Yeah, Mauritania was quite a nice country. People were very friendly, but I've heard a lot of bad things about it. Of course, people got kidnapped in a few months before. And it was hard to get any petrol. They sell diesel everywhere, and they do have Mercedes 190D everywhere, but they don't have petrol. So I had to carry some spare jerry cans or old oil cans with petrol when I found petrol stations, and it was quite heavy. So my bike was loaded to do 750 kilometers without any stop. Yeah, that's how the road looked like. It was quite boring. It went on like this for a few thousand kilometers up the west coast, no, the Western Sahara towards Morocco. And yeah, on one place there was this rally heroes legend coming towards me and past, but they only stopped when they had a tire blown. So I don't know, they stopped, they changed it, they went on. Don't know. It wasn't too interesting, but yeah, there was also not a way to cool down myself. It was really hot, but as you see, my bike is here. I couldn't reach the ocean. So I had to go on like this for about 2,000 kilometers before I finally reached Morocco. And in Morocco it was like Europe again. Of course, you find big restaurants, you find petrol stations, you can get money out of a cash machine, and you have internet cafes everywhere, and you have nice food. But before you eat one of these tagine, which is made out of dattel, potatoes, and what's it called? Rosinen. Raisins. You should remove this. It's really hot. I've been to Morocco a few times before, and of course visited the normal places like Todra and Dades, and also knew some places where you are not surrounded with people who try to sell you something. I had to get up quite early, but it was worth taking some nice pictures. Until a few days later I took the ferry to Spain and reached Germany alive. Thank you.